day. Welcome to your day off. My name is Corey. I'm sitting with my best bud, Tony. What's up, Tony?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm so excited about today. You have no clue.
Oh, man. I'm fanboying.
First off, I think I owe you an apology because you put her on my radar about a year ago, and it didn't quite sink in enough. But then I heard her speak, and then I was like, I was in 2 feet, 2 arms. I was whole body in. I'm drowning right now.
Yeah, I heard a year ago. I was listening to her, and I knew a little bit about her. But man, I've been fanboying ever since.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm a huge fan.
Well, again, I apologize to you, and I apologize to our guest today for not jumping on the old Nikki Lee bandwagon earlier. But did I let it out?
Yep.
Did I let it out? So today we're talking to Miss Nikki Lee. Nikki Lee is the founder of Statements Inc. Statements Inc. has got so much going on. I think we'll wait for Nikki to kind of tell us about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Should we just jump right in?
Let's do it.
That's it. Stop making fun of ourselves and just get in. Let's do it. So,
although we could do that all day because there's so much to make fun of. But
it just get repetitive.
Yeah.
Old dad jokes and stuff start coming out. So, Miss Nikki Lee of Statements Inc. Welcome to your day.
Hey there, guys. You guys crack me up because they're so cute. I can't take it. So cute.
That's why we're best friends, because every day he cracks me up.
I can see that. I can see the synergy. It's amazing. I love it.
Well, welcome to our synergy, man.
Thank you for
welcoming
me in. I really appreciate it. I'm quite honored. I love it.
Thanks, Nick.
Like I said, I've been a huge fan. I've been fanboying for over a year, and I truly believe in what you're doing and what you're saying, and everything that you're doing for the industry is so positive. But before we get into all of that, I want to get into who Nikki Lee is. Where were you born? Where were you raised?
I was born in Saigon, Vietnam. My mom is Vietnamese and French. And I was born in 1971. And my father, my biological father, I don't know him. So he is apparently Scottish. And apparently has really short, stubby legs and really kinky, curly hair, because that's what I got. But anyway, he's Scottish guy, so I have that. And then I lived there in Saigon with my mom until the day of the fall of Saigon. We left. Coincidentally enough, we had a flight booked from my biological grandfather, who gave my mom airline tickets and said, "Get the hell out of Vietnam, quick." And we left on the morning of the fall of Saigon, with all of the sirens going and everything. We left, we flew on a plane. My mom was 5 years old with me. And we got off a plane and onto Guam. Had no idea where to go. And my mom is a tough broad because of that. So I come from
just you and your mom?
And I just got up. Yeah. She tried to get my grandma and my aunt and my niece, but the soldiers from the Viet Cong side had reached the bridge and wouldn't allow everybody past, with shooting people there. So she couldn't go. So she had to turn back and get on the airplane. So we went off and got into Guam, and then we ended up with this very tumultuous story to end up in Wisconsin.
Well, hold on. There's so many questions. Okay. Sorry, Nick. So like you left from like an airport on an airport? Because I envision those pictures that we see of the people on top of the buildings, like being like helicoptered out by like U.S. troops.
Yeah, that was going on.
And that was during that day. So it was just it was all hell, really.
Yeah, chaos. People were being shot. And my mom wrapped my head with a scarf because I had light kind of hair. And in Vietnam at the time, the Viet Cong soldiers were shooting anyone that looked foreign, including children. And if they felt that children were mixed breed, which I was, they thought of those children as just like trash. They're just like, we got to get rid of them. But anyway, so my mom wrapped my head in a scarf and tried to keep me safe like that. It was pretty tumultuous. Yeah, it was pretty dangerous.
Do you remember it?
So I have a memory, but it's only one very small memory. It was, I had a red umbrella that I always carried around. It's my favorite little thing. And in Vietnam, apparently you walk around with umbrellas all the time. Women walk around with umbrellas because it's very hot. So I had this really cool little plastic red umbrella, and I actually lost it once, and then I got another one. That I was carrying that. And I remember carrying the red umbrella going to the airport with my mom, and my mom said, can you help me with this bag? And I'm trying to struggle with this red umbrella, but I would not let my umbrella drop. Like that had to go with me. And so I have that vague memory. of the red umbrella going to the airport, but that's about it.
Do you know? Speaking of branding, like that red umbrella should be her brand.
Right? Oh my God, I never thought of that.
Dude, oh my God, are you kidding me? That's like that's everything. You know, that red umbrella tells your entire
guys,
story.
I ignore my story quite a bit. You can ask Ive, I was sitting with me. I mean, I literally don't talk about myself. This is the first time public I've ever spoken about that.
Dude, that's incredible. So you said you lost. So
I lost it once in a well, and they lost me, and so they were all very stressed out. The entire village, you know. So my grandmother lived in a village in Vietnam, in a village called Tay Ninh, but my mom and I lived in an apartment in Saigon, so which was about 170 kilometers away. And so we would go back for the weekends, and I would stay with my grandmother quite a bit. And the village, I was like their little mascot, apparently, because I was like this little curly-headed, light-haired kid walking around the village with all these, Asian people. And so and I was really fat, apparently, too. So they like little fat babies a lot. So everyone was just they're like, she's like the little mascot walking around. So they let me walk around anywhere. I could walk anywhere in the village, anywhere. People would be like taking care of me. The entire village just took care of me. When I went back about 12 years ago, it's so interesting. Every single person in the village came out of their homes and their cars and their everything to come over to visit. They called me Ba Wing. My Vietnamese name is Tan Nguyen. And they called me Ba's baby. And so Ba Wing is what they called me. And they were like, oh my God, Ba Wing's home. She's home. She's home. And then they came over. And I mean, I must have like hundreds of people visiting me when I went back. It was crazy. It was crazy.
So what, your family, they were okay? They didn't have issues?
So it was very, very traumatic, actually. My niece and I'm sorry, my mother's niece, my cousin ended up dying because she got ill. And with the fall of Saigon and everything kind of crashing down, medical care was really horrific. And she could have easily been cared for if she had great medical care, but they didn't have it. And so she died. My mom felt terrible about that and very, very guilty. My aunt now is here. My grandmother since passed away, but that's it. And we have cousins and things like that, but they're distant people. We don't really know them too well, but just when we go back, we say hi and stuff. But yeah.
Oh, so now you're living in. So now you end up in Guam.
So we ended up in Guam for a short period of time. Then there was obviously some care there for people flying in from Vietnam at the time due to the war. And then my mother ended up in Hawaii for whatever reason. I don't really know the story of how we ended up there. And I don't really remember that part of it, but she knew a gentleman that was a friend of hers. He was living in Houston at the time, and he flew us into Houston from there and sponsored us in. At that time, you had to be sponsored if you were going to be coming to the States. Right. And so he sponsored us in. And then from there, we ended up going to stayed there with him for a year. And then my mom was dating a guy who was a Vietnamese guy and ended up having him kind of come back he flew into Canada and then he found her and they ended up meeting up in Florida while I was still in Houston. But that's all I know about that part of the story. She doesn't talk too much about that or share too much about that. But then we ended up, she reunited with this guy who was my dad or stepdad. And they ended up we went to Arkansas and we stayed at Fort Chaffee in the refugee camp. So when I say I'm a refugee, I'm really being real. Like I was a refugee. And so I went to Wisconsin, then a Lutheran church from there sponsored my family, which was my stepdad, my mom, and I, to stay there. And then my mom and dad had my sister, and then that was the four of us. And we grew up there in Wisconsin, Racine, Wisconsin, right outside of Milwaukee.
What was life like in a refugee camp?
I do remember some things about that, actually. I don't remember a lot of details, but I do remember that there were bunkers or like buildings that looked like, I think there were military.
Right. Like cinder block kind of homes.
It was very, and then there were just beds that we all shared in a room. I remember that. And I remember there was like a meal hall, like, you'd go to the hall to eat all together. And then there were tents set up that we would have to do like immunizations and things like that. There was definitely some mistreatment going on there. I remember my parents, my mom and my mom specifically talking about that a little bit. But there was overall, everyone was just trying to just get people through. I mean, the million, thousands of people coming through this, camp, this one camp, just trying to get people through and getting people the skills that they needed and trying to place them in the right place and trying to get sponsorships. I mean, that was, it was, you know, you got to give the United States some serious credit. You know, when I hear people talk about the U.S. nowadays about certain things, you know, I have a personal experience with this, and I have to tell you, you know, you have to have a lot of heart for everything that this country's done for a lot of people, and that's a beautiful thing that people have created. And I come from that immigrant status or that immigrant mentality quite a bit, you know, and we have a lot of friends still from that era. And it is so, these people are so hardworking, and they're so, you know, authentic and so ethical. And I'm really proud to say that I'm from that stock, you know?
You are blowing me away already. We haven't even got into it, man.
I know, right? Yeah.
So the Lutheran Church sponsors you, and you end up in Wisconsin?
So that was quite a childhood. I don't know how many of you ever grew up in Wisconsin, but
I'm just thinking of like the difference between the heat in Vietnam.
Yeah. You know, the first time it snowed, it was magical. But then the second time, my mom wouldn't stop crying. She was devastated because she lived in a tropical environment. She was so homesick. Homesick. You know, she missed her mom so much and everything. So, you know, it was very sad in my house. You know, there was a lot of, but my parents are fighters. And so my mom worked 3 jobs, and my dad, who graduated from law school in Vietnam, top of his class, went and worked as an orderly in a retirement home. And because of sort of a little bit of a language barrier, and he lost his entire law degree. He had to start all over again. So he did. He started in law school at Marquette University in Milwaukee. Took him 10 years to do it, working 2 jobs, going to law school.
Did he have to go, did he have to redo undergrad as well?
Thing over because it was from another country, didn't count. And remember, it was from the administration of the original government that was completely gone now. So in the country, I mean, there was nothing left of that government. And so when you talk about like invasion, knock everything down, that's what happened. So
I've never thought, you know, like you hear those stories, you've heard about like government takeovers and stuff. You never realize that it's not just a government takeover, but like her dad, it removed any credibility that he had, anything that he had worked towards, or you know, that's now that's a blank slate.
But you can kind of see a parallel as far as work ethic between the two. We're going to get into that, but he didn't give up. He became a lawyer again.
That's it. Why are we talking to you? Bring him on the line. Let's talk to him about his story.
And then my mom went to engineering school, went back to engineering school. She was going to school in Vietnam, and she had to start all over too. And my mom is the one that carried the weight, though. Let me tell you, she had to be the mom. She had to work multiple jobs. She, you know, had to put up with some shenanigans of that kind of, you know, marriage stuff and all that kind of stuff. But the point is that she pushed through it, and she worked super, super hard. Yeah, she made it happen. I mean, she really just pulled it all together and just went above and beyond. And but then unfortunately, those kind of situations leave me to having to be very much growing up really quickly. You know, I didn't have the chance to be a kid. There was no like baseball games, softball games, you know, pageants, none of that nonsense. You had to come home from school, you had to cook dinner, clean the house, help take care of your sister. And that at the time I was like, this is bullshit. You know what I mean? Like screw this. But
talk about a selfless individual. Here you have a woman who has a child
too,
who's leaving. At the time she only had 1 child.
Oh, right.
Who left everything she knew, everything she knows, in order to give her baby girl a chance at a new life, or at something better, or something greater, or something. And that's how much courage does she, you know what I mean?
You can't measure it, can you?
No, you can't imagine it, you know, just totally giving up everything and going to a foreign country, to a different language, and hope that your child.
Well, that's it. Your only currency is hope.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. Yeah. That's my hat's off, my many hats off to your mom, and the courage. And, you know, that's an amazing story in its own.
You ain't kidding.
Thank you. I'm actually quite proud of that story. But again, like I said, I've never shared that story in public. This is the first time.
Hey, welcome to your day off.
That's right.
Hey, so Nick, so she's working all these jobs, and then not only that, but she's also being like the wife of a full-time student, or certainly of a long-time student.
Yes. And that was hard. That was hard. It was a harder childhood than one can imagine. So when I hear, this is when I hear things about people making excuses about not doing stuff or getting stuff done, that's my reference point. So it's a very difficult thing for me to wrap excuses. You know what I mean? So I tend to be a little hard-nosed about that. I tend to be just a little bit impatient and intolerant. And I try to be more patient and tolerant of excuses. But, when you, and we're one of millions of people that have lived like this. I mean, I'm not anything unusual. I know these people. I've met these people. So when I see someone making an excuse because of something lame, I get really frustrated, because I've seen people have to push through, and not just like one day. We're talking like years of pushing through some pretty tough stuff. So,
though, I mean, it's like you only know that perspective when you live that perspective, right? Like Nikki, and I'm gonna throw out an assumption on you, and like you can either yell at me about it or you can live with it. But unfortunately, Nikki had to learn how to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, right? And that's such a learned skill that a lot of people that have always been comfortable have never had to. And by the way, I'm guilty of it. There's no way I'm not past this. When I get uncomfortable, if that makes sense, but you have these rare breed of people, either from circumstance or from in the core of them, that are comfortable with the uncomfortable, and that's amazing, because I actually think that's kind of the secret sauce in these things. I think success happens with that uncomfortableness. It's accepting that, okay, this is uncomfortable, or accepting that this is a failure. How do we move forward from it?
Exactly.
But I think that's a learned behavior, or for you, you just learned it at 4 years old or less, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I guess I don't fault people, but just that they're not challenging themselves to feel uncomfortable.
So how was your English then?
Yeah, no, right.
Obviously you had to go to public school or something, you know what I mean?
I didn't speak English until I came to the United States, and I learned English in kindergarten.
Really?
6 years old or something like that. 5 or 6 years old. Yeah. And then I walked in, and that was one of my first memories, actually, was when I walked into my kindergarten class, and everyone treated me like I was some kind of crazy, weird thing. I don't know why.
Well, you were this fat little blonde-haired, curly Asian kid.
I guess so. But they were like, wow, like touching my hair. And then there was this little kid named Eugene Drazen. And he comes over and he was like, stop it. Everybody knock it off. Get away from her. You guys are treating her weird. Knock it off. And Eugene and I became best friends until I moved away from Virginia. He was my protector all my whole childhood. So,
are you still in touch with Eugene?
No, I wish. But,
oh man.
Yeah.
I heard you were quite the pit bull.
Where'd you hear that from?
Right. I heard you were the protector of the neighborhood.
I am. Where'd you learn that? Where'd you hear that?
we just hear things.
I'm a huge fan. I heard that if a bully crossed your path, they weren't a bully after that.
No, I was a scrapper. I got suspended from elementary school 5 times.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
For what?
I was like a bruiser, dude. I was like, I'm gonna knock your head off.
Was that in Virginia?
Yeah, no, Wisconsin.
Oh, because Virginia, they'll give you the death penalty for that.
Yeah, well, if they find out.
Right.
No, I heard she just protect other kids.
I was a scrapper. I was a total scrapper. Yeah.
Do you have one of those stories?
Oh my God, I got some stories for you for scrapper.
Tell us one of them, man.
So I had this kid, her name was Alicia. She lived down the street from me. She had beautiful long hair, my God, down to her knees, beautiful. And she's a really tiny girl. And we walked to school together every day. She was so little. I was kind of little too, but I was mean. And then, and so anyway, she was cornered one day because I guess she got lice. And the mean girls kind of got a hold of her, and they were cornered. And then a couple people ran over to me, and they were like, they actually, I didn't go by Nikki then. I remember my Vietnamese name is Tan Nguyen. Everyone called me Nguyen. And so they were like, Nguyen, somebody's picking on Alicia. I don't know why they came to me, but I guess they knew I was going to take care of business. So anyway, I ran over there, and they had her cornered, and she was crouched in the corner. She was crying, and they were like yanking her hair, and it was just mean shit like that. Hate this so much. And so I couldn't tolerate it, honestly. Even from a very young age, I couldn't tolerate it. So I said a couple of things maybe I shouldn't repeat right now. And then a couple of them kind of got in my face. So I shoved a couple of them. And I ended up getting into a fight where fists were thrown and some kicks and, throwing people down on the ground and stuff like that. But I took care of business. And then, so anyway, the teacher caught me. So the teacher yanked both of us down to the principal's office. And the principal's name was Mr. Blickle. And he had a paddle on the back of his wall. And on the paddle, it had holes in it. And he named it Mr. Blickle's Pickle, which now would never be okay. Like, oh my God.
Is he in jail now?
He's in jail for that. So anyway, he whacked me 3 times with that paddle.
What?
Yeah, because that shit was down at that time. Yeah, that's how old I am. He got spanked in elementary school.
Dude, that never happened. Well, I grew up in Maryland. So that was never happening in Maryland.
Wisconsin, that happened. So he pulled that paddle out. He said, "Bend over the desk," and he whacked me 3 times, and he whacked the other kid 3 times.
He whacked you 3 times with this pickle?
Yeah.
That's disturbing. I'm sorry.
It's horrible. It's horrible. I know.
Oh my God.
But anyway, so that was one of the first times I started to fight. Then there's the big time, which I never got in trouble for this. Another girl liked this kid named Nick, and this other kid, Nick, liked me, I guess. I don't really know. Honestly, I didn't even know I was a girl. I didn't even know the difference between a girl and a boy. I was such a tomboy. Like, if anyone even knew me as a kid, no one would let me touch their hair. No one would let me do anything beauty to them. I was so dirty. I never bathed. I mean, I was like a total tomboy growing up. Anyway, was super upset that Nick liked me. And so I borrowed my mom's shirt for picture day. She didn't know about that. But anyway, so I had it on. It was a white lace shirt from Casual Corner. And and it was like my fave. But anyway, I was sitting in the class and we were doing handwriting. At the time, we would practice handwriting with an ink pen. You dip it into the inkwell and you'd practice writing like that. And so, I'm like sounding really old, I think. Anyway,
what year was it? 1776. She immigrated with the founding fathers.
She flicked the ink on my mom's shirt. She was sitting behind me.
Oh.
So I was like, "Oh, hells no!" So
you knew mom was gonna whoop your ass too.
Mom was gonna get me, and somebody was gonna pay. So anyway, I jumped her in the middle of class, and my teacher, I think it was 5th grade teacher. His name was Mr. Jaskalski. He comes over and he yanks both of us by the shirt, my ink stained shirt, and he walks us and marches us to the principal's office. Mr. Blickle, and he's like marching me to the office, and he's like, "I cannot believe you girls, and I can't you blah blah blah," and takes me to the office. Well, again, Mr. Blickle and I had a little meeting, and then after school, I thought she's gonna pay. Well, anyway, so we're down at the beach because in Wisconsin or Racine, we lived on the coast of Lake Michigan, but you would think it's a lake. It's not. It looks like the freaking ocean. Right. And so anyway, we're down at the beach because I grew up on the edge of a beach. And anyway, all of a sudden I hear a bunch of ruckus behind me, and it's and I'm with a couple of my friends. And so we get to brawling. And anyway, I ended up yanking her shirt off and in the middle of the brawl. And so she's embarrassed and mortified. She runs into the water. I'm like, "Oh, no, you're not getting away." So now I'm in a frenzy. So I jump in the water with her and I put her in a headlock and I'm just like pounding her. And she's trying to do whatever with her arm. And so I grab her arm and I don't know what I was doing, but I pulled it around and I yanked it down, but it broke. And so,
you broke her arm?
Yeah. And so it made this horrible sound. And I immediately I was like, "Oh God." And she went limp. And anyway, her brother took her home, and I thought, I'm going to jail. I'm that's it. Like, I'm dead.
What?
And so I ran home. I was terrified. Couldn't sleep all night. And she didn't come to school for like weeks. Well, and I had been friends for a little bit, distant friends, but friends. I'd been at her house, and her mom was an alcoholic. And so her mom was just, at the time I didn't know that that's what it was, but her mom literally never left bed. So I just don't think anyone followed through with it. I never got in trouble for that. Can you believe that?
Wow. That move's called a Kimura. So yeah, you see it all the time in the UFC now.
And created by no one. I have never talked about this publicly. This is like ruining my reputation.
Nikki's like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
Nikki, the pit bull lead. Don't say it.
Nikki, the originator, the inventor of jujitsu or something.
Yeah.
Vietnamese jujitsu.
Oh my God.
You know, it all stemmed from because, obviously you were probably bullied a little bit first getting here, and you weren't tolerating it, and you weren't tolerating it for anybody. You know what I mean? So as much as I don't like the violent part, but I totally respect what you did and and why you did it. So,
I kind of see we're going to see a theme here, right? About the underdog. Dude, we're still in Wisconsin. Yeah. How'd you get to Virginia, or what was next?
So we lived in Wisconsin 10 or 11 years. And then my dad graduated from law school and he got a job with the FTC in DC. And he ended up moving here. And so he wanted my mom to move, but at the time they weren't sure if they were going to stick together. And she got a job with Westinghouse in Chicago, I think. And so anyway, there was some conversation there, but anyway, we ended up moving here to Virginia, and we went to Alexandria first. We lived there, and talk about like tough school. I mean, that was like I thought I was in a tough school in Wisconsin. That shit was no joke in Alexandria. I was like the heart of the ghetto there. And anyway, so I grew up in some rough neighborhoods and some tough situations. But I made some best friends there, and it was great. And anyway, my parents decided to buy a house, so they bought a house down in Woodbridge area. And then we moved down here, and I went to high school here at Osborne Park, and I went from like ghetto Wisconsin to like super ghetto Alexandria to like Whiteville in Manassas. So it was like a completely different scenario, where I was. But that was super preppy. Everybody was preppy. And that was like the 80s, early 80s and everything.
Were you showering by that point?
Yeah. I was trying to be cooler then. I cared actually. All of a sudden I started to care about what people wanted and what people thought and, all that. Before then I didn't give a shit. But all of a sudden in high school, something happened. I was like, oh, I guess I better, act like a girl. So I grew up my hair, and because I always had short hair as a kid. Right. Now I get short hair as an adult. There was a period of time there I had some long hair.
Right.
And then I was a good student in the sense that I worked really hard, but I was not a good student in the sense of naturally smart. I think I'm naturally smart, but I don't learn the typical way. And this, I think, had become lessons. And I had some really good teachers there at that school that showed me that with diligence and hard work and some accommodations to your learning style, you could actually learn something really, really well. And so I started to become an avid student and started to research, read, study, and I did it a lot. And that just has kind of carried me in my life. So
what did you do after high school?
So I went to school at George Mason, started college at George Mason with psychology as my focus. I was going to be a psychiatrist and with a minor in communications, and did pretty okay. I mean, I wouldn't say I was a straight A student or anything like that, but I did okay. I crammed and I worked and I paid for college. My parents didn't pay for college. I was paying for college. So I was working full time, going to school full time, and I saw my friend graduate with a chemistry degree, and she got the salary was $38,000 was what she told me. And I was making at that time as a hairstylist in a salon while I'm going to school $45,000, I think, on my W-2 plus tips. And so I was like, shit, I'm living large up in here in this industry. I'm not going, who cares about college? I don't need to do that. And I just kind of got roped up in the partying ways, of the business a little bit. I got, I like to go out every weekend, maybe sometimes even during the week, paying for bar tabs, drinking a lot, having a good time. And I just realized that school wasn't my focus at the time. And I wanted to have fun, and I wanted to kind of be that person, that partier. I was independent. I had moved out. I got my own apartment. I was like living large. And that was kind of where my mentality was. I wasn't thinking about success or the future or anything.
Wow.
Moment.
Why don't we know? She could have bought all of our drinks or something.
Right.
We were in the area. We were in the area.
Yeah, maybe. I probably did.
All right. So somehow we missed the story of how did you become a hairdresser?
So I was working fast food in high school. And, that's what everyone did when they were a teenager in the 80s, work fast food or the mall. And the mall apparently didn't give good hours. So fast food did. And then so I had a friend that her mom owned a nail business. And so she was like, you're kind of cute. You want to come work at the nail business? You want me to train you? And at the time it was only a 6-week certification to become a nail tech. You didn't have to have a license. Oh, wow. And she says, I'll teach you. I was like, okay, that sounds good to me. So I did it. And I thought in anticipation in 11th grade or the end of 11th grade, I thought, well, I should probably get out of fast food because I'm going to be going to college soon. I need a better job where I can make some money. And then there was the promise of commission, meaning making more money than just hourly. And I thought, well, I can do that. And so that's kind of how I started doing that. And then once I got into nails, I went to this other salon where she was this hard woman, like, I mean, hard. Okay. But I loved her with all my heart. Her name was Rosemary. And she was the apprentice to Lucy St. Clair out of Paris, who was apprenticed under Vidal Sassoon. Wow. At the time, I have to tell you, I had no idea what that meant. Okay. Like at the time I was like, who's Vidal Sassoon? Who cares? You know what I mean? But as I learned more and more in the industry, to me, I felt incredibly privileged to be educated by her. And so I did an apprenticeship with her. And she said, I'll teach you as long as you do everything I ask. And I said, okay. And when I say I did everything she asked, I mean, I scrubbed the floors. I stayed late, cleaned that salon, did inventory stock. I learned every single thing the hard way from her. And she was no easy task. I mean, she was a hard lady. And she could not grow her staff. Her biggest issue was leadership. And she couldn't win people's hearts. But if you saw past the hardness, you can see how much she had to offer you. And that woman really started me in such a beautiful way in becoming strong and powerful and very business-minded. She taught me a lot about money. She taught me a lot about running a business. She taught me a lot about inventory and doing hair and so much. She offered me so much. I'm really, really grateful to her. Wow. So that kind of led me on that. And then I stayed with her for 5 years. And then she did this thing where she comes to me and she was like, I'm going to 1099 you. And at the time, I was like, wait, what? I don't ever understand what that means. Right. But at that time, I think everyone was kind of doing this. It was sort of like a trend, like I'm going to booth rent you. It was like this booth rental mentality that was born and I was not down. So, and I was going to school. I was really doing a lot of hours at school then. And so I thought I'm going to get a job closer to school. So I did. So I got a job at a salon. I won't mention names because at this point, I think that I don't have anything positive to say about that experience. So I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. But the experience with that salon, it was one of the biggest salons in Virginia at the time. It was one of the best. It was amazingly run. But I have to tell you, it was everything representing non-compliance, unethical, and just terrible treatment of their employees. Mm-hmm. I learned what bad salon ownership was there.
That was near Mason?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a year and a half, and it ended up with a lawyer involved because of the treatment that was involved in there.
Well, we don't want to go down that route. So yeah. You went, after that, how long were you at that salon? You said a year and a half?
I was at that salon for a year and a half, and I learned a lot, and then I left, and then I launched my own business. So I was specializing in bridal and makeup then. And mm-hmm. So I started to create sort of my own travel business on location. Did you, this isn't a joke, but were you offering like nail services as well? I mean, you're so well-rounded at this point. I would do whatever anyone asked me to do. Like basically at that point, I'm like a total hustler at the heart of me. And I'm a grinder. So if somebody asked me to do it, I'd be like, okay, like I don't say no, you know what I mean? And so that was sort of my cup of tea. And so I just traveled, but it was mostly a bridal business. I traveled to I was doing about 48 weddings at my peak a year. Oh. And then before the 48 weddings, I was doing all the trials and all prepping the hair with highlights and whatever, beforehand, the whole bridal party. So.
Whoa.
Yeah.
48 weddings, right?
Wow.
Yeah. That doesn't, like you said, that doesn't even include the lead up.
Right.
Right. You must have been making pretty good money then, I'd imagine.
I can always make money. I'm always good at making money.
Because she's a hustler. Like she said, she's a hustler at the core, right?
Yeah.
So how long did you do
You know why? Because I work hard and I don't say no. Like basically, you know, when I hear people say things now, this is like I think one of the biggest problems of this industry is that people are always coming up with some obstacle or some excuse as to why they can't. And, you know, just don't do that. Just can do attitude.
I got to tell you, I mean, if I can make this personal for just a sec, one of my biggest regrets, and this is to this point, one of my biggest regrets in the industry is that I've been a colorist, you know, since the early 90s, but that's all I do. You know, like I wish I had learned hair cutting because I'm intrigued right now by the whole extension thing, but because I don't cut hair, there's no way I can kind of do that. You know, I want to, but you know, a decision I made in the early 90s is now like affecting my what's next. You know, now I could go back to law school like your dad and like learn how to cut hair and stuff, but you know, I got a podcast.
Right. Because you're doing bigger things now. I mean, maybe that's not the route for you.
Well, maybe not, but you know, I kind of wish I didn't.
You can make it a hobby.
I'll tell you what. You just want to learn how to cut extensions? I'll come and teach you how to cut extensions in an hour. Sound good?
So we have a date. Okay. We're gonna come down. We're gonna come down to Woodbridge. We're gonna hang out with you. We're gonna hang out with a name we'll drop later. You know, someone that is working with you now that we're very impressed with. But okay, so you did the wedding thing, and then where'd you go from there?
And then I got in a really serious car accident.
Whoa! What?
Yeah, 5 days before my wedding, it was pretty bad. They had to saw the roof off the car and then had to medevac me over to Washington Hospital Center. And I had 4 broken ribs, a concussion, broke a couple fingers, sprained my wrist, punctured a lung. That was the bad one. The lung puncturing was a bad thing. And then
what happened? What happened in the accident? I just
got in a car accident coming home from work, I guess, or from my final fitting of my work and then final fitting of my wedding dress, and then just crashed and burned. Brand new car too. I was distressed about that. But
not the wedding dress doesn't fit.
The wedding dress was in the back of this back seat.
Did it get ruined?
No, it was covered in a plastic bag, but there was blood all over the plastic bag. So that was pretty cool.
So you get medevac to the hospital.
Medevac to the hospital, and then after I get out, I couldn't work for a few weeks because my lung and anyway, so my dad was like, this is bullshit. Like, you just stop. You know, you open a business. And I was like, I don't want a business. I don't want people. I don't want employees. I don't want any of that. And he was like, no. You really do. You're meant for it. You're good at it. Just do it. And I was like, I only have $12,000 in savings. He was like, okay, I'll give you a loan for the rest. So that's what happened. So he gave me a loan for $40,000, and then I had about $12,000 in savings, and then we opened a salon. I found a salon, and it's a funny story around the salon. I was driving past the salon every single day, and it was owned by a Korean lady. And in study hall, I had overheard a bunch of Korean girls talking about, oh, the salon's for sale down in Woodbridge. And I was like, what salon is that? And they said, oh, it's called Master's Touch. Her name was June, the owner. And so anyway, I thought one day when I'm driving, I kind of heard it was for sale. I'm just going to give them a call, see if it is. So I called and I asked the front desk, hey, I heard the salon's for sale. That's what I did. Well, 5 minutes later, she calls me back. She's like, yes, can you meet me tonight? So I did, and we talked about it. We negotiated terms, and I bought that salon. So that was my first. It was just me. It was like an independent, you know, at that time, just by myself. And then my dad helped me on the desk a little bit, and my mom helped me a little bit here and there. And then it kind of grew. And then, so 3 years in the business. Yeah. So I had that business, that small business. It was 5 stations. And then we expanded out to 10 stations, about 3,800 square feet. The first one was about 1,400 square feet, 5 stations. And then we moved into a 10-chair, 3,800 square foot, full spa on the other side, 8 treatment rooms, the whole thing. Made a ton of mistakes.
When did you change the name?
Well, no, it was Statements of Salon the whole time.
Oh, so when you did the 1,400, then it became, where'd you come up with the name? Like, we were talking before we went on about names. So like because we found
it so it was my sister and I. Uh-huh. My God, I could not come up with a name because I don't have the creativity you have. I am in the
Hairdustry.
Mr. Right. We were driving to Mall of America, Minneapolis, in the car, and I was driving by this billboard. It said, "Have you checked your bank statement?" And you know, I love bank statements, so I kind of thought bank statements. Oh, that works, yeah. So I was like, I said it to my sister. I was like, hey, you like statements? It means a lot of things. It means bank statements. It means like statements, like you can make a statement. And she's like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Right.
So that's where we came up with it in a car driving to Mall of America.
Thank goodness for that billboard.
I know, right?
It could have been a lot worse if he's looking at billboards.
I know.
But I'll tell you, there was no statements anywhere. But now all over Instagram, every time I pull up statements, there's statements everywhere. So I guess I might have been a trendsetter about that.
You're the OG.
I'm the OG.
Right. OG of the Kimura, OG of the statement.
I don't think I'm OG of the Kimura. I'm not the OG of the
Kimura. I'm gonna backpedal just briefly. So your wedding was 5 days from after the accident, and then now we're into owning the salon. Did that ever happen?
The wedding, yeah.
All right. Was it 5 days after, or did you postpone it a little bit?
No, it was 5 days after. We were going to postpone it, but they strapped my ribs up, and they said, you want a wheelchair? I was like, okay, I guess we could take a wheelchair. We had to cancel the rehearsal dinner because I got out on Friday. I got out of the hospital. They said there won't be any wedding if your lungs get an infection. So they had a chest tube. Have you guys ever seen a chest tube done on those doctor shows?
Uh-huh.
Okay, that shit is ridiculous. Okay.
Yeah, I had one.
You had one?
Yeah, I had a collapsed lung when I was 17. I had a cyst. I was playing football on the beach, and then I think the cyst popped or something. But I started to catch my breath a little bit. By the next day, I couldn't breathe, so I went into the hospital, and they put that tube on the inside the rib to inflate it. I was there for about 3 days, and then when they take it out, that was so weird because it was like bloop, 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 bloop. You feel the air coming out. I was like, ugh.
Yeah. And it's weird watching a tube in your lung where blood and stuff is coming out constantly, right? It's so horrible.
So there wasn't going to be there wasn't going to be a wedding if you got an infection.
No, but I didn't get the infection because, that's me. I'm like
anti-infection.
I don't know. I think my body's, well, not anymore. Now I'm not bulletproof anymore, but I thought I was pretty bulletproof back in the day. Nothing. I fell from trees, didn't break a bone. I felt like I face planted into a tree off my bike, didn't break a bone, like nothing. Got into a car accident, just got, broke a few ribs and, a couple fingers, but that's about it, and a concussion. But anyway, so ended up having the wedding. It was a okay wedding. It was good. It was a bit of a disaster, really, when you think about it, in the sense that it was just like, you remember that movie 16 Candles?
Yeah.
Remember that sister walking down? She was high as a kite.
Oh yeah.
So they gave me a lot of pain meds, and so they strapped my rib up, and then my bouquet was like 4 feet tall, so I couldn't barely hold it. So both my parents had to walk me down the aisle, and the whole time I'm walking down the aisle, I'm like, hey. Oh my God. Kathy, so nice to see you. The whole way down the aisle. That's what I'm doing.
Oh my gosh, I so want to see that video.
Hey, the funny thing, half our listeners like 16 candles. What's that?
I mean, it was so stupid. But that's how I walked down the aisle. It was a
so
joke.
the wedding was somewhat of a success. I mean, you made it through your
it was all right. I made everyone cry. Everyone was bawling their eyes out all over the place, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
So bridal party, everybody was crying. Minister was crying. Everybody was crying except me. I'm like, hey girls, what you crying for? So that was that. And then I'm divorced now, so it's okay.
So the wedding went off, the marriage not so much.
Yeah. But we're good friends.
That's what everyone says.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're in a 1,400 foot salon. We got married. We have broken ribs. Marriage is on the rocks. Then what?
Yeah. I'll tell you why the marriage is on the rocks, because I'm going to hopefully shed some light on some people in there. When you work as hard as you do as a business owner, and you sacrifice the amount of time that it takes to run a business, especially when you're in the growing fast mode, relationships go to the wayside, and you don't put the time and attention into it. And there's some other factors, but for my side of it, that was a big deal. That was a big issue.
Tony and I have a good friend, and I'll leave the name out as well. But she's a platform artist and she travels the world every weekend, and it's definitely a struggle, just to hold those relationships together. It's hard to keep those relationships together and to be married to your job. It's you're having an extramarital affair and it's your career.
Yep. And the balance is difficult, and I'm not balanced when it comes to work. I'm a bit of a workaholic, so I don't think I balance as well. And it's a thing I struggle with. It's one of my biggest struggles.
Still today?
Is to balance that. Still today. But, because I have 2 boys. And so being a mom is probably my favorite role of all time. And we're an adoptive family. So, I was very deliberate about becoming a mom. It wasn't accidental. Open a business was accidental, but being a mom was not. And so it's this never ending saga for me of how do I balance time for my family, my kids, and myself, and everything I want to create and everything I want to do. Because when you're a creative personality and you have vision about things, it's very, very difficult to shut that off. Mm-hmm. But I'm all about, everyone makes jokes with me that I don't understand work-life balance. And I'm like, there's no such thing as work-life balance. It's work-life optimization. And that happens on a daily basis. And, there are modes of your life where you have to pound it out. And there's modes of your life where you just shut it down for a little bit. And so just learning how to balance that. So I'm learning. I can't teach anybody that, but.
Right.
You're doing a great job of it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Now we've jumped way ahead.
Right.
So you outgrew. So you didn't just like open another salon. You actually outgrew those 4 walls, and you had to.
We absolutely outgrew. There was no choice. We didn't have a choice to stay there. Even if we wanted to stay there, which we did because I liked it. I liked the location. I liked the visibility. It was super visible. I just didn't have a choice. I mean, there was not enough parking. There was not enough space for what we wanted to do. There was no rooms to put any more chairs to sit for anybody in the waiting room. I mean, we busted at the seams. It was a great experience to watch a business grow like that.
So, I mean, a lot of many salon companies have been in this situation to where it's time to expand or to, extend your business space or whatever. But also a lot of times that's the killer for a business, like they expand too quickly or something like. So as a young woman, forget about being a woman, but as a young salon owner, how did you how did you know it was time to go, or what kind of what word am I looking for? What metrics did you have, or did you just get lucky, so to speak?
So the one metric I kept going back to was my daily totals equal to my rent. And so if I felt like, and every day was the same, meaning even on our slowest day, our daily service total equaled what my rent was.
So basically you were 30 times above your rent every month.
Exactly. And so
a bunch of people
in a 5-chair salon. And so when I said we were productive, I mean we were productive. And we were open. We weren't even open 7 days a week. I considered opening 7 days a week, but the landlord wanted me to re-sign another 5-year lease, not a 3-year lease. So he wanted me to jump from a 3-year to a 5-year. And when I was mapping out the projections at that time for 5 years from now, based on our last 3 years of the exponential growth that we were seeing, I realized there's no way that size of that space could have sustained us. And then the space next door was a Domino's Pizza, and they were not going anywhere. They had like a 10-year lease or some nonsense. So it wasn't like the possibility of us busting out next door and expanding space either. But the parking was the really biggest issue. The other tenants were like ready to murder me over the parking issue. But I was just like, I don't know what to do about this. I'm trying to fix this. I don't know what to do. Like, how could I help this? And so that was kind of the weighing decisions. And then there was a little bit of cocky ego in there too, to be honest with you, and that was my mistake and if I could give anyone advice about the expansion process, I would say, don't get your ego involved in it, remove it, because my ego made me get a $220,000 loan and go build out this space, that was from scratch. And why did I do that when if at any given time I could have opened up the newspaper or pulled up the internet and found probably 10 salons that are ready to drop their business for $25,000 at any given moment. And that's still happening today. Today, I can probably find you a salon owner that's ready to sell their business for $25,000 or $50,000 just to get out. And so, because they're so broken and can't handle the employee issues and the financial management of it. And I'm not saying maximize on their loss. I'm saying I could have dropped another $50,000 to get into a bigger space and expand my business out to a better location that with the salon was already built out. But then my ego got in the way and it told me, oh no, I want it to be like all my style, my way, my this. It was like, what the hell was that? It was like so immature. It was so stupid. And so I had a learning curve. And, paying back a $220,000 loan is no joke, it's since paid back, but how stupid financially that decision was. And I thought I was smart then, but
how do you check yourself? Like, do you have a mantra or do you have something that you rely on to say, oh, this is ego talking? Like, how do you check that? Because we all face it every day. Like, what's your conversation?
So my conversation, so I reflect at night very frequently. And anyone who's ever taken a class from me has heard me say this. There are times of the day where there are peak production times for certain things. And I think at night, self-reflection is the peak time. So you got to do it in the right time. Doing self-reflection at let's say the morning, for some people, if you're a morning person, that's okay. But for me, morning time, I'm all about the go, I don't want to give myself the time to think about, oh, what was that mistake? And can I do that differently? My morning times are like, what shit do I need to get done right now? And today, how am I going to handle this? At night, it's a calmer time for me in my mind, and it's quieter and it's in the dark, and I'm not with anyone else except myself. And so I have to get in the right space physically for me to do that. I don't do it well in an airport or even sitting with my headphones or music, nothing like that. Sometimes when I'm running or when I'm walking or something outside, that works for me too. But at night in bed in the dark is the best time. So that's really important. And then I ask myself some really big questions like, is this what will be the benefit here? And then I delay the gratification. It's like it's like instant gratification of purchasing in a store. You delay the gratification. Like, do you need this right now? Give it time, give it another week, delay the moment, and then revisit it in a week and then come back. And if you still feel the same way, then you know it's something worth following. And so delay the gratification, ask yourself the question, is this for you? Or is this going to serve your team or serve somebody else or serve the greater good?
Delay gratification might be the biggest bomb I've heard on this podcast.
Really?
Yeah, honestly. I mean, I think it's something that's not discussed, but we all fall into that, right? We all fall into that instant gratification kind of things. You can delay that and then it puts different eyes on it. I love that.
Everything is built on instant gratification. Everything instant, right?
It's very, the world is set up now to indulge your impulsivity. And I think that we have to become super hyper aware of our impulsivity. And creative beings are more impulsive than the norm because you notice this is a big issue in the salon industry. People spew what they want. They think. And our brains, by the way, studies have shown we have anywhere from 80 to 100,000 ideas and thoughts a day. I mean, this is like a real thing. Neurological studies have shown that your brain, you can actually track and measure that the brain has anywhere from 80 to 100,000 thoughts. How do you filter all of those thoughts down to the core 5 that you need to focus on every single day? I mean, that takes some self-discipline. And so you have to know sometimes if the thought keeps reoccurring, it's on the top level of what you need to get done. If it's just a passing thought that's not going to go away, that delayed gratification is going to keep that from happening. And so I think that's important to recognize.
This is genius.
For creative
psychology skills coming out.
Yeah, no, I was going to say it too.
Right. which the industry kind of you get to play with both still, the communication and the psychology.
Yeah,
absolutely. 100%. That's why I love this industry so much. Because stylists, they have the biggest hearts I've ever seen of any industry. As I've studied other industries, man, stylists, they got it going on when it comes to their heart. I mean, I have never met people more kind and more willing to help for no reason other than just, let me just take good care of you. You know, I have never met more people to think like that.
I agree with you. And I think that
to their detriment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To their detriment.
I think I agree with you 100%. And I think like even like doctors and stuff, they get into that industry to help people. But then I think the beast eats most doctors up, right? When it comes to like healthcare companies and doing this, and now you're sweating pharmaceutical
insurance.
Yeah. There's just so much to it where we don't really deal with that. You know, we have to, and I put this in quotations, you know, we have to deal with, you know, like a product rep coming in, but that's about it, right? Like that's the only thing. And, you know, your regulations are all done at the beginning of your career or the beginning of your thing. And then you can just be creative. And I think there's something to be said about we're in a space to be creative and how much that offers us to give. Yeah.
This industry deserves to be protected. It's a beautiful industry. It provides a platform for a lot of people who don't have a lot of options in life. You know, you heard me speak this statistic with the other podcast, but I think it bears repeating. There is an industry in our industry. We are 85% female. Nothing against men, but that's just the stat. And then in this, right now, the divorce rate sits above 50%. And in this industry, it's probably closer to 60, 65%. So how many single moms are there in this industry that are creative individuals that maybe didn't do super well in school because they don't follow the normal way of learning? They deserve a chance to provide amazing lives for their families. And I think this industry shelters a lot of people in that way. It's a shelter, in my opinion. It deserves protecting. That's kind of how I see this industry anyway.
I love that.
I'm down. I'm down to help.
What you guys do, the two of you, you're doing that. You're protecting this industry with a lot of information.
Nikki, we appreciate that. Way too much credit for us, but we appreciate that. But, you know, even on that note, I was going to, you know, our brothers in the barbering side too. Like there's a lot of guys that are doing this too. You know, there's a lot of guys that are able to raise, that have passed, right? That are able to raise families. And, you know, I mean, I'll speak for Tony and I, because I know, you know, when we came into this industry, neither one of us were heading anywhere quick, you know, and we were heading for trouble, honestly. You know, I don't know if it wasn't for this industry, I don't know where we would end up. Although if I quote Presley Poe, she says, people ask me what I would do if I wasn't a hairdresser. She's like, I don't have time to think about if I wasn't a hairdresser. It's what I was meant to do. You know, so there's also that too. We don't follow that necessarily, but it definitely saved us. I mean, listen, this industry has given me, I won't speak for Tony, but has given me an amazing career. It's my only goal coming out of hair school was to make $20,000 because I thought that that's what I deserved. And over the years, I've made way more than $20,000, and I'm appreciative of every dollar over 20,000 that this industry has given me. And it's given me
Bravo.
A family, a life, a home, you know, cars. We don't live an extravagant lifestyle, but we certainly have a lifestyle.
I love it. I love that so much.
Yeah. All right. So we're back at statements. We're at statements 1.A, right? So you extend out and you get past like you get into your bigger space. And so you went from 1,400 square feet to how big was the other one?
3,800.
So you went
10 stations and 8 treatments.
How many?
10.
For $220,000.
Only cost you $220,000 for 5 stations.
Well, don't forget my 8 treatment rooms with my Vichy rooms.
Oh, that's right.
Snap.
That's right.
Not bad.
Yeah.
3,200. That's a pretty big salon.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. It was a large salon. It wasn't the largest, but it was a large salon. And then we expanded out of there. And then within about 8 years, we signed a 10-year lease. About 8 years, again, the busting out of the same situation. I mean, we were so busy that people were complaining that they were exhausted. I mean, it was just, we had bigger issues.
Is it because you guys were just that good, or is it something that you're putting together?
So I think there's some secrets there. I could share what I think it is. First of all, I think the first thing is that we gave we gave a full guarantee on everything we did. And I believe in that. And this bullshit these days, by the way, of this whole, and I watch the industry about if you're 15 minutes late, it's a no-go. Or if it's, and people are viewing themselves as these people who are like, I'm professional, so I'm sticking to my guns. So I'm not going to allow you guys to abuse me. Well, they're speaking to like 2% of their industry, their clientele, or 1% of their clientele. You have a whole nother 95 or 98% of the clients that honestly, that doesn't apply to. So don't make policies around your business that are destructive to your clientele and your guest experience, by the way, and your customer service and your quality control. Like, don't do that stupid stuff. And I think that it's sending a wrong message to the young stylists today. I'm not going to say who I think it's coming from because, but what we all know, we've seen these posts all over Instagram, all over Facebook, all over social media of like, making fun of, clients, making fun of clients saying certain things. You know what? I don't like any of it, to be honest with you. I get it. It's funny. We can share. We can have a nice laugh. But don't put that stuff on in public because it makes our industry look bad in customer service and quality control. We need to turn our industry back into serving our guests in the most accommodating, in the most wealthy of ways. And so we need to share our skill in that way. And so these policies of like, oh, I'm not going to fix your hair because you're just abusing me. Okay. Like the redo policy is I could literally talk an hour about the redo policy because to me, you fix it. You did it, you fix it. They don't like it, you do it again and you do it again and you do it again until it's done, until that client is yours. There's no way you're going to build loyalty if they feel that they're getting any resistance from you in providing the best of service. The Ritz-Carlton hotels provide a budget. They have a program. They provide a budget of $2,000 a day for every single department. Any employee can decide that they want to treat a customer of theirs to something that's going to make their day. Buying a cake, buying a bottle of Jameson, whatever you want. They have $2,000 a day set aside. Are you kidding me? The salon industry can't just guarantee a service? Like, stop it. You know what I mean? Like, this is ridiculous. Guarantee the service. So that's like a whole nother thing. I can tell how passionate I feel about that.
No, not at all.
Young stylists especially who are building. If you're not at 100% productivity, you don't have the choice. Fix your clients. You're at 25% booked out, fix your clients. Your clients call back, say they don't like it, do it again, right? So that I think has catapulted our business with our clientele. They trust it and they know it and they believe in it. And I resist, my stylists resist it all the time. I have to hammer them all the time. I believe in it so strongly that as a business owner, I pay my stylist to redo other people's work, other styles' work. Meaning I pay them in full commission on the service where I never see a dime exchanged, but I pay the service because I believe in that guarantee that much. And so that is number one. Number two, I'm big on team building. Doesn't mean that I don't suffer from the same team issues you guys do. I do. But I build a team as hard as I can all the time. We believe in a culture of teamwork. We help each other at any given point. Anyone in the salon can go in that back room, if somebody sitting in the back room can ask, can you please help me with this? And the answer needs to be yes. And if it's not yes, then I want to know and I'll correct the behavior. And so that's how another reason. And I think that differentiates it. I definitely come up against things that are challenging sometimes with that. But overall, we have built a very solid culture, in my opinion. The other thing that I would say that our business does that grew that much is that we focus heavily on training technical skill. So we train technical skill anywhere from 4 to 5 times a week. So we are hardcore, heavy go hitters on that.
Whoa, slow down. We're going to spend some time here. So you're doing technical skills how do you schedule that? How do you do that? Give it.
You set aside people that you pay that are going to be the top trainers in your business that you recognize high skill in. So if you have a high skill in updos, you're an updo trainer. If you have high skills in front desk training, you train front desk. If you have a high skill in retailing, you train retailing, et cetera, et cetera.
Let's say I don't want to do that. Is that cool too? Like if I didn't?
Yeah, cool. You don't want to do it, don't do it. But if you want to make extra cash, yeah. And the way we do it, you can make an extra $2,000-$3,000 a year, if not more, just training in our salon. That's going to give you your savings for your retirement, by the way. That's going to give you vacation pay, and some of our trainers make $6,000-$7,000 or 10. We've had some trainers make $10,000 a year in our salon. So in addition to their commission, it's additional pay. So that is what you call leveraging your team. That's you're taking your team and you create this training system where they become your in-salon trainers. Well, we have launched many an outside salon trainer, people who've trained outside the salon. These are the secret to training, to become an educator, trainer, is just start training where you are. If you train the people you're around, you're going to build your skill, and you're going to build your reputation and your credibility. And then you have something solid to teach. And so start in the salon. That's where our customers touch. So start there. And then we schedule time. So we're like Wednesday morning, 9:30 to 12, training, balayage, be there. We create an annual calendar. On the annual calendar, it's like mapped out. So if Goldwell is coming in to teach us a class 12 times a year, we have that date scheduled. I identify, or the leaders of the salon identify who needs that class. That class then becomes mandatory. For everyone else, it's not mandatory. You can come if you want. And then, but the ones that need it, like new employees that need to learn how to use Goldwell, it's mandatory. You got to come. So, right? I mean, it's just the way it goes. And so, I mean, we can go on and on and on all day about this. It's a training system, but you need to have internal training structures in your salon to build technical skill. If your technical skill doesn't get higher, you're just doing nothing but just losing half of them. That's why retention levels are so low in this industry. And
you've seen a direct correlation with your retention numbers and the systems that you have in place?
150%, yes.
Like 150%, was that like an agreement, or is that 150% retention rate?
No, 150%. If your technical skill, if you were not trained technical skill on a regular basis, your retention will be incredibly low. One of the main ways to get your retention up is to build your technical skill. They are your monetizable skills. It's what you make money with. If you're not delivering those with quality and consistency, you're screwed.
What's amazing, she travels the country teaching a lot of this. You know what I mean? So, I can't wait to have her back on and dive into a lot of these systems, or a lot of these little things that she does on an everyday basis. That, 'cause right now, how big is your salon?
It's 6,200 square feet.
62. Can you imagine?
How many operators now?
We're at 42, I think, right now.
42.
42 employees. Out of those 42 employees, 25 of them are operators, or stylists, or service providers behind the chair. The rest are support team, front desk assistants. So when I say we have a lot of assistants in training, I mean it.
That's all. Think about, God, Nikki, just think about the lives that you're changing, man. Those lives of those young hairdressers, even if they don't, and I'm going to say this, and she's going to cringe and, probably give me the finger or something, but like, even those that don't stay with you, even those that just kind of grow on and stuff, like just an opportunity that you've given them in growing their business and their careers. I mean, I applaud you. I can't kind of thank you enough for being, imagine being a kid and like learning it the right way. Right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like Tabitha would come into your salon and not know what to do. She'd be taking notes.
Oh my God, I'd hardly doubt that, but I can learn from her. She's a smart cookie.
She's pretty fun.
But
I was just saying, your mom and your dad, your mom has to be so proud of you.
I think she is. She helps me a lot. I'm very lucky to have her around, because she helps me with my kids. So, awesome. So I can do what I needed to do here. Right. And she's always willing to support and all of that, So I'm really, really lucky.
You're doing exactly what she came here for.
Yeah, that's amazing, right?
Yeah. So I am a part of Virginia Women's Business Conference, which is this really amazing women's executive leadership group. And we share, I actually have shared a couple stories with them about that. I don't try to share what I share here, but I was a little bit uncomfortable. But anyway, it's interesting, because what that's really taught me is this mom to daughter relationship of watching your kids do certain things. And then, I don't have any daughters. I have 2 sons, but it's interesting to watch my mom with my sister and I. So my sister's actually, if you can imagine, she's 1,000 times more successful than I am.
Are you serious? What does she do?
She runs the commercial lending division of MVB Mortgage Banking.
Oh, wow.
Here in, she's a scary girl.
coming from the jiu-jitsu queen.
And she's smart. She's tough, and she's smart, man. Nobody messes with her.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is your dad still around?
Yeah, my dad's still around. He's kind of ill these days, so he's fighting health issues, but but he's quiet. He's around.
Yeah. Can we talk about one of your service providers? Because you have 42, but not that I'm not interested in all of them, but one of them I want to talk about. So kind of tell us about your relationship with Alik from Unicorn Tribe.
So Alix is, she, I share with you guys a little bit earlier that I'm utterly blown away by this girl's talent. I mean, she doesn't just do hair. She is like a Van Gogh, she's an artist. She paints, she thinks like an artist. She thinks like a painter. She thinks of the hair like a canvas. I mean, this is how she does it. And she thinks of things, with her kinetic painting techniques and everything. Her technical skill is like outrageous. That's why she's teaching others, right? To do this. That's why she's built this brand, because people can recognize her skill. They can see like the beauty of it and just the pure flawlessness of it. However, here's what happened. I think somewhere in the industry, and she is a heart girl, like she is all heart. And I've known her for a little bit kind of from a distance, and then we get a little closer and then a little closer. And it's like we just kind of slowly have kind of merged together a little bit. And what's happened is that I've recognized, just like a lot of other people in this industry, they haven't been taken really great care of. A lot of people in the past might have not given their best, to her. And so she has a little bit of this same stylist mentality that I've seen in a lot of other stylists. They're a little mistrusting of business owners, because maybe business owners, I'm not going to say that business owners are unscrupulous most of the time, because they're not. Most of the time, they're just uninformed, and so they're reacting to the moment of what they know. And so instead of pushing to learn and research something new, they kind of just stay in their same mind space. And so it's hard. So I think that Alix had that type of experience. And so I'm hoping that our experience is that she can teach me a lot about how she trains her classes, and I can really help her and guide her to be stronger in business, because she is launching a brand that is massive. I mean, like, it's 160,000 followers or something like that she's all on her own. I mean, no help from anybody. This girl and she's a single mom. Think about that. She speaks to my heart in a lot of ways. But we are helping her groom, but we are doing it in this new concept called, so we're trying to change some things in the industry. We're going to call it the independent artist concept, or the business model. It's going to sound a lot like booth rent, but it isn't. I'm taking the best of both worlds, commission-based businesses and all the support networks and all the coaching, the business coaching, and all of the assistant help and front desk help and scheduling help and everything. And we're going to merge that together with the concept of being an independent stylist. So we're going to call that independent artist. And Alix is sort of our flagship young lady that's going to be doing this. And so we are going to be trying to provide what independents want, that I keep hearing them say, which is, I want education, I want support, I want teamwork, I need help with coaching, business coaching and finances, I need help with all these things. And then I'm going to try to give my business education to those people and then provide this umbrella in our salon. And so we have I gave you a little tour of some of our space. And so we're going to create just a few spaces. I don't want a lot of them. I just want a few good ones. And so that's really my goal, to kind of launch this and then help them become like Alix in the sense of educators in the industry, changing the game. And then they can become trainers to the independent world, because it's needed. It's needed to train these soulless suite owners and to train these independent stylists and these booth renters to do it differently and to do it better. And so I want our team here to be the people that are functioning out of here properly, and they can learn through experience, and they can go out and teach others how to do it correctly and compliantly with the IRS and the Labor Department and the government.
Huge. And I tell you what, if anyone can do it, Nikki can.
Yep.
We're going to give it a good shot. And so Alix is really my partner in that. And she's really helping me to become sort of my model of that. We're going to learn on her and, figure out the kinks and work them all out.
That's awesome. Love it. Miss Nikki, I'm really excited. I guess I can make an announcement now. Nikki's going to join us back for a few more of our Thursday releases. Just as you see, she's like balls to the wall all the time, and she has all the information to give. So we're hoping to get a couple episodes of Nikki in that role. As a matter of fact, if you're listening to this and you have some business questions or anything, feel free to DM us at Hairdustry on Instagram. And if we have some questions, but we don't want questions inside the business. If there's something that we should cover as a topic, then reach out to us and we'll reach out to Nikki and see if she has any if she definitely has opinions or something about how to run your business. Nikki,
yeah, I just want to give you a big heart and just say how much I love you and how much we appreciate you.
I see a long future ahead of us. I look into the future and I see a long one for us.
Yeah.
I do too, guys. Thank you so much. You guys are so freaking charming. It's ridiculous.
Oh, that's him. That's Tony.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share. I've never had anybody ask me the questions you guys have asked me, by the way, just so you know.
Hey, Nikki, this is the shameless plug part. Where can people find you or where are you located?
So you can, you can just straight up email me if you want. That's nikkistatements@gmail.com. So NIKKI statements, STATEMENTS @gmail.com. You can just send me an email. I'm really open to just, having a conversation anytime you want about anything. I'm happy to help. I don't like to buy anyone into anything. That's not my style. If you want to work with me, I'm all about building relationships. I want only people who really want to build long-term connections. So that's who we built. Or you can just get on Instagram at Nick Trowbridge, salonbizedu.com. But if you just put in Nick, NIKTROW, it'll come right up. And then the Statements Project Instagram and the Statements Project Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. But I'm at all the hair shows too. Please come visit me in class and just come say hi. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to just have a conversation. PM me through Instagram, through Facebook, send me an email and we'll just get to talking and we'll see if I can help. And if I can't help, I'm going to send you the right people that can. I know a lot of people that can help you.
Awesome. It seems like she has a whole lot more time than I have. Like she's doing so much more.
I know, it's the same 24 hours and a half she doesn't.
Right.
She even has time to reflect.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Only at night because I can't fall asleep fast.
Oh my gosh. So, but if people are looking for you, you spend some time with Gino, right?
I do. So we're having an event in November 17th and 18th. And this is my shameless plug because I'm telling you, if you want to become a leader, if you want to create salon training systems inside your business, and if you want to become an educator and a speaker like Gino or like me or like anybody else, this is the event to go to. I'm telling you, Gino and I are pouring our heart and souls into this 2 days. And we are creating some really strategic methods. It's not a motivational, fluffy kind of thing. This is going to be super strategic. We're going to give you online or education about how to get online classes going, about how to build curriculums, about how to create presentations that sell, etc. And so that's going to be held at Turf Valley Resort in Maryland on November 17th and 18th. If you guys want more, go to Mentor Masters Facebook or Mentor Masters Instagram, and we're doing posts about it. Or just email me and ask me about it. Or you can email Gino, message Gino, make him message you back. He's really good about it though. And Gino's so excited. I'm really, really privileged. I'm like, are you kidding me that I get to have Gino basically help me, you know what I mean? And grow me and partner with me. I mean, that's a big deal for me. Right. I mean, I grew up in this area watching him and learning from him in big, big ways. And I cannot tell you how lucky I feel that this guy and his wife, Barb, beautiful, sweet wife, tough as nails too, that woman. They invited me into their home and now our team and we're family. And I'm very, very lucky for that. So yeah, we're doing big things, Gino and I.
Gino Stampor is a wonderful dude, and Tony and I, when we had the opportunity to talk to him, we actually did it live with him, like in the room with him, not over Skype, and
I remember
there was a little giddiness on our part too, because we honor him as well, Well, Miss Nikki Lee.
Yes. Who doesn't? My God, he is like talking about OG. That man is like the OG gangster of business coach mentors.
I don't remember anybody before him, really. not as an
No,
individual.
no.
You know, I mean, he's the original independent educator, right? He's
Yep,
never been brand
yep.
affiliated.
He's never been brand affiliated. Can you believe that? I mean, it's outrageous. And that man knows how to sell. So if you're an educator and you want to sell, he's your guy. Like, I mean,
there's no doubt about it. Well, enough of the Gino podcast. This is all about Nikki. Nikki Lee, thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart. And again, I'm looking forward to future conversations, but thank you for joining us on your day off.
I am so happy to. Thanks.
Hey, so there it is. Hey, this is a message that we've been trying to bring, I don't know, for the last couple of months, actually since we started the podcast. Hey, so if you like the podcast or if you find that it's useful, please leave us a review, a 5-star review on iTunes. Leave us a rating and a review.
But if you don't like it, forget about it.
Yeah, totally forget about this message. We also want to thank Sarah and Blaine from Pretty Gritty. Sarah and Blaine, they are a band out of Portland, Oregon, and we just want to thank them very much for allowing us to use their song, Pleased to Meet You, on our podcast. That's cool. I think you can find, actually you can find their music on iTunes.
Peace and hair grease.